The distress signal came through at 0300 hours, cutting through the quiet hum of Proxima Station like a knife. Lieutenant Marcus Webb had been monitoring the deep space channels for 3 years, and never once had he heard anything like this. The voice on the other end was high-pitched, trembling with fear, speaking in broken galactic common. "Please, anyone who can hear this. We are dying. They are killing us all. The council will not come. Please, someone help us." Marcus sat up straight in his chair, his heart pounding. He had been trained for this moment. But training never prepared anyone for the reality of hearing someone beg for their life. The signal was coming from far beyond human space, from a region controlled by something called the Galactic Council. Humans knew about the Council, of course. They had been watching, listening, learning about the vast civilization that existed beyond their small corner of the galaxy. But they had never made contact. Not officially. That had been the agreement, made 60 years ago when human ships first ventured beyond the solar system and discovered they were not alone. The discovery had been shocking, wonderful, and terrifying all at once. Because when human scientists finally translated the galactic databases they found, they learned a horrible truth. Earth was what the galaxy called a death world, a planet so dangerous, so hostile to life, that most species would die there within hours. Marcus played the message again. The voice belonged to someone calling themselves Sira, a Velen from a colony on the Outer Rim. The message included video footage, and Marcus wished immediately that it did not. He watched as armored soldiers gunned down civilians in the streets. He watched as buildings burned. He watched as children ran screaming from creatures that looked like massive reptilian monsters in battle armor. "The Kravik came 3 days ago." Sira's voice continued. "They said our world was now theirs. They said our species was too weak to deserve life. The Council knows. We sent them messages. They said they would debate the issue. They said it would take time. We do not have time. We have hours, maybe less." Marcus felt sick to his stomach. He reached for the communication panel and opened a direct channel to Admiral Catherine Chen. She would not be happy about being woken up at this hour, but this could not wait. The screen flickered to life and the Admiral's face appeared. Her dark hair was pulled back tightly and her eyes were sharp despite the early hour. "This better be important, Lieutenant," she said. "Ma'am, we have received a distress call from beyond the border, a species called the Velens. They are being exterminated by something called the Kravik Dominion. The Galactic Council is not responding." Admiral Chen's expression did not change, but Marcus saw something shift in her eyes. "Send me everything," she said. "I will be in the command center in 5 minutes." The channel closed. Marcus transferred all the data to the Admiral's personal terminal, and then sat back in his chair. His hands were shaking. Humanity had spent decades hiding, staying quiet, avoiding attention. They had built their colonies carefully, always in systems the Council considered worthless. They had kept their military strong but out of sight. The reason was simple. When humans first learned about the other species in the galaxy, they also learned how those species saw them. Deathworlders. That was the word. Creatures from a planet that should not be able to support intelligent life. Earth had gravity 3 times stronger than most inhabited worlds. Its atmosphere was rich in oxygen, a highly reactive gas that most species considered toxic. Its surface was bombarded with radiation from its yellow sun. Its oceans were filled with salt and teeming with predators. Its land masses were covered in poisonous plants and aggressive animals. And worst of all, its dominant species were endurance hunters, predators who did not kill with speed or strength, but by simply refusing to stop chasing their prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. Humans were terrifying to the rest of the galaxy. And so humanity had decided to stay hidden, to build their strength in secret, to avoid becoming either a target or a threat. But now someone had sent them a distress call. Someone was dying and no one was helping. Admiral Chen arrived in the command center exactly 5 minutes later. She was already in uniform, crisp and perfect despite the hour. She walked directly to the main display and pulled up the data Marcus had sent. She watched the video in silence. Marcus watched her face, trying to read her reaction. He saw her jaw tighten. He saw her hands curl into fists. "How long ago did this message send?" she asked. 14 hours, ma'am. Given the distance, it probably took several days to reach us. So they might already be dead. "Yes, ma'am. They might be." Admiral Chen stared at the screen for a long moment. Then she turned to face the bridge crew. By now, word had spread and more officers were arriving. taking their stations even though their shifts had not started. "Get me a direct channel to Earth Command," Chen said, "and get me every captain in the fleet. I do not care what time it is. Wake them all up." Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. He knew what was about to happen. They all did. Admiral Chen was not the type of person to ignore a distress call. The communication channels opened. One by one, the faces of ship captains appeared on the screens surrounding the command center. There were 37 ships stationed at Proxima, everything from small frigates to massive battlecruisers. Behind them, back in the Sol system, there were dozens more. The Terran Defense Fleet was not the largest military force in the galaxy, but it was built for one purpose: to protect humanity from any threat that might come from the stars. "Ladies and gentlemen," Admiral Chen said, her voice clear and strong, "we have received a distress call from a non-human species. They are being slaughtered by an enemy force, and the Galactic Council has refused to help them. I am activating Protocol Shepard. All ships will prepare for immediate deployment. We will cross into Council space within 6 hours." There was a moment of stunned silence. Then one by one the captains began to respond. "Understood, Admiral. Roger that. My ship is ready." One captain, Commander Sarah Torres of the battlecruiser Valiant, spoke up. "Ma'am, Earth Command has not authorized this action. We are under strict orders not to reveal our presence to the Council." Admiral Chen met her gaze without flinching. "I am aware of our orders, Commander. I am also aware that someone out there is dying and calling for help. We can debate politics and protocols after we have saved lives. If Earth Command wants to court-martial me when this is over, they are welcome to try. But right now, I am not going to sit here and do nothing while innocent people are murdered. Anyone who disagrees with this decision can stay behind. Everyone else, prepare your ships. We leave in 6 hours. No one stayed behind." Within minutes, Proxima Station was alive with activity. Ships powered up their engines. Marines loaded into dropships. Weapon systems came online. And across dozens of communication channels, the word began to spread. The humans were coming. The Deathworlders were waking up. And the galaxy was about to learn what happened when someone asked Earth for help. The Galactic Council chamber was in chaos. Ambassador Threll of the Manarian Collective stood at his station, his 4 eyes fixed on the holographic display that showed the impossible. 70 warships, human warships, moving through space at speeds that should not be possible. They had appeared on long-range sensors 6 hours ago, coming from a region of space the Council had marked as uninhabited, and they were heading directly toward Velen territory. "This is a violation of protocol," High Counselor Ven shouted, his crystalline form glowing bright red with anger. "They have entered Council space without permission, without even announcing themselves." "Who are these humans?" Threll kept his voice calm, though his hearts were racing. "We have known about them for some time, High Counselor. They are from a planet called Earth, located in Sector 447. Our scouts identified them 40 standard years ago." "And why were we not informed of a new species?" "Because, High Counselor, they are from a death world. Our xenobiologists classified their planet as Class 12 hazardous. We assumed they would never develop space travel. We assumed wrong." The chamber fell silent. Every member of the Council knew what a Class 12 hazardous rating meant. It meant a world where everything was designed to kill you, where the very air could be toxic, where the gravity could crush your bones, where the wildlife saw you as food. There were only 17 known Class 12 worlds in the entire galaxy, and not one of them had ever produced a sentient species. Until now. How is that possible? Counselor Reth asked, her voice barely a whisper. "How can intelligence evolve on a death world?" "We do not know," Threll admitted. "But it has, and now they are here." High Counselor Ven pulled up the data on the human ships. He studied them in silence, his glow fading from red to a worried orange. "These ships, their design is all wrong. They are too heavily armored, too compact, and these acceleration readings cannot be accurate." "They are accurate," Threll said quietly. "We have confirmed them 3 times. Human ships can accelerate at forces that would kill any of our species. Their crews can withstand gravitational stress that would turn us into liquid. That is insane. No biological creature can survive that." "They can, because they evolved on a world where that kind of stress is normal. Their planet's gravity is 3 times standard. Their bodies are built to handle it." The council chamber erupted in argument. Some members wanted to send ships to intercept the humans. Others wanted to flee. A few suggested trying to communicate. But before any decision could be made, The communication panel lit up. A message was coming through. From the human fleet, Threll opened the channel. The holographic display shifted, showing a human female in a dark blue uniform. She had brown skin and black hair pulled back from her face. Her eyes were forward-facing. Predator eyes. Threll felt an instinctive chill of fear. "This is Admiral Catherine Chen of the Terran Defense Fleet," the human said. Her voice was steady, controlled. "We are responding to a distress call from the Velen colony in Sector 782. We are en route to provide assistance. This is a humanitarian mission. We have no hostile intentions toward the Galactic Council." High Counselor Ven stepped forward. "This is High Counselor Ven of the Galactic Council. You have violated our space without permission. You will halt your ships immediately and submit to our authority." The human admiral looked at him for a long moment. Then she smiled. It was not a friendly smile. It showed teeth. Sharp, white predator teeth. "With respect, High Counselor, we received a distress call 3 days ago. A call from people who are being slaughtered while your council debates. We are not halting. We are not submitting. We are going to help those people. If you want to help too, you are welcome to follow us. If not, stay out of our way." The channel closed. The council chamber erupted again, but Threll was not listening. He was studying the data on human ships, reading reports from the scouts who had observed Earth from a distance. What he saw made his blood run cold. Humans were predators, not just in the sense that they ate meat, but in every aspect of their evolution. They had eyes that faced forward to track prey. They had teeth designed to tear flesh. They could run for hours without stopping, chasing their prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. They healed quickly from injuries that would kill other species. They could go days without food or water. They could survive in extreme temperatures. They were in every measurable way built to be survivors, built to be killers. And now 70 ships full of them were heading into a war zone. On the bridge of the Terran battlecruiser Indomitable, Captain James Morrison watched the stars streak past as his ship pushed its engines to maximum. Around him, his crew worked with calm efficiency. They had trained for this. They had prepared for the day when humanity would finally step out of the shadows. "Captain, we are receiving telemetry from the other ships," his communications officer reported. "All vessels are keeping formation. Estimated arrival at Velen Colony in 8 hours. Good. What do we know about the Kravik Dominion?" His tactical officer, Lieutenant Zhao, pulled up a holographic display. Based on intercepted council transmissions, the Kravik are a militaristic empire controlling 14 star systems. They have been expanding aggressively for the past 20 years. Their ships are heavily armed, and their military doctrine focuses on overwhelming force and intimidation. Numbers? Intelligence suggests they have approximately 200 warships. Based on the attack on the Velen colony, we estimate 30 to 40 ships in the immediate area. Captain Morrison nodded. Those were bad odds, but not impossible. Human ships were smaller than most council vessels, but they were also faster and more maneuverable. And human crews had advantages that no amount of technology could match. "Run a diagnostic on all weapon systems," he ordered, "and make sure medical has extra blood supplies ready. This is going to get rough." His first officer, Commander Lisa Park, looked at him with concern. "Sir, we are going into this completely blind. We do not know Kravik tactics. We do not know their weapons capabilities. We do not even know if our shields can stop their fire." "You are right," Morrison said. "We do not know any of that. But we know they are killing civilians. We know the Council is not helping. And we know that we can. That is enough." 8 hours later, the human fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Velen system. Immediately, alarms began to sound. There were ships here. Kravik ships. 43 of them, surrounding the colony world like a pack of wolves. Admiral Chen's voice came through on all channels. "All ships, battle stations. Prepare for combat. Remember your training. Protect each other. And do not let those bastards kill any more civilians." The human fleet moved forward in a tight formation. They were outnumbered nearly 2 to 1. Their ships were smaller. They were far from home. But not one captain hesitated. Not one crew member questioned the order. On the planet below, Sierra huddled in a basement with 30 other survivors. They could hear explosions above. They could hear Kravik soldiers searching the streets. They had given up hope hours ago. The Council was not coming. No one was coming. Then someone's communication device crackled to life. A voice came through, speaking in Galactic Common with a strange accent. Velen Colony, this is the Terran Defense Fleet. We received your distress call. We are here. Hold on just a little longer. Help has arrived. Sierra began to cry. Someone had come. Someone had actually come. She did not know who the Terrans were. She did not know what a human was. But they were here. That was all that mattered. In orbit, the Kravik fleet detected the human ships and moved to intercept. This was going to be easy, they thought. These ships were small. They were weak. They would be destroyed in minutes. The Kravik had the best military in the galaxy. Everyone knew that. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Commander Zolth of the Kravik Dominion stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Crusher of Worlds, and watched the small human fleet approach. His lips pulled back in what his species considered a smile. 43 Kravik warships against 70 tiny vessels. This would not even be a fight. It would be an execution. Open a channel, he ordered. Let us give these primitives a chance to surrender. The communication officer worked quickly, and within moments a holographic image appeared. It showed the interior of one of the human ships. Zolth had never seen a human before, and he found himself surprised by their appearance. They looked soft, fragile. Their bodies were covered in cloth instead of natural armor. They had no claws, no fangs, no obvious weapons built into their biology. The human in the center of the image was a female. Judging by the slight differences in body structure Zolth had learned to recognize in mammalian species. She wore a dark blue uniform with symbols of rank on her shoulders. Her face was calm, almost bored. I am Commander Zolth of the Kravik Dominion, he announced. These star systems now belong to the Dominion. You have entered our territory without permission. You will power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded. If you comply, we will kill you quickly. If you resist, we will make your death slow and painful. The human female looked at him for a long moment. Then she spoke, and her voice was cold as ice. This is Admiral Catherine Chen of the Terran Defense Fleet. You have 30 seconds to withdraw all forces from Velen space. After that, we will consider you hostile. This is your only warning, Zolth laughed. It was a deep rumbling sound that made his crew join in. The audacity of this creature, giving him a warning. You command 70 small ships. I command 43 dreadnoughts. Each of my vessels could destroy 10 of yours. Surrender now or die. The human admiral leaned forward slightly. 29 seconds, Zolth's amusement turned to anger. You dare threaten me? I have conquered 17 species. I have burned 100 worlds. Your pathetic fleet is nothing compared to the might of the Dominion. 15 seconds. I will enjoy watching your ships burn. 5 seconds. The human admiral raised her hand. All ships, weapons free. Show them what Deathworlders do to bullies. The channel closed. For a moment, Zolth stood there in confusion. Then his tactical officer screamed a warning. Commander, they are firing. The human ships had spread out into a wide formation, and now streaks of light were racing toward the Kravik fleet. Zolth recognized them as kinetic weapons. Simple projectiles accelerated to high speed. He almost laughed again. Kinetic weapons were outdated technology. Kravik shields could easily stop them. The first projectile hit the shield of the nearest Kravik ship. The shield flared bright blue and then vanished. The projectile punched through the hull like paper, tearing through 3 decks before exploding inside the ship. The Kravik vessel shuddered and began to list to one side, atmosphere venting from a dozen breaches. What was that? Zolth demanded. How did one projectile penetrate our shields? His tactical officer was frantically working the controls, pulling up data. Commander, those are not normal kinetic weapons. They are traveling at 0.3 light speed. The impact force is. It is beyond anything in our database. Another volley hit. 3 more Kravik ships were damaged. One lost power completely and began to drift. Zolth felt the first stirring of real fear. Return fire. Destroy them. The Kravik ships opened up with their energy weapons. Powerful beams of focused plasma that could melt through armor in seconds. But the human ships were moving. Not just moving, but dancing through space in patterns that seemed impossible. They were accelerating, decelerating, changing direction with such speed that targeting them was nearly impossible. And when the Kravik beams did hit, the human ships did not stop. Their shields absorbed the damage, flickered, and then came back online. And the ships kept coming, kept firing, kept moving in those insane patterns. They are too fast, the tactical officer shouted. Our targeting systems cannot keep up. On the bridge of the Indomitable, Captain Morrison gripped his command chair as his ship pulled a 7-gravity turn. Around him, his crew worked through the stress, their bodies adapted to handle forces that would kill most other species. They had trained in Earth's crushing gravity. They had trained in centrifuges that pushed them to their limits. This was hard, but it was survivable. "Target that cruiser on our port side," Morrison ordered. "Hit them with everything we have." The Indomitable's railguns fired in sequence, sending tungsten rods downrange at relativistic speeds. Each rod hit with the force of a small nuclear weapon. The Kravik cruiser's shields collapsed under the assault, and the rods tore through its hull. Secondary explosions rippled along its length as ammunition stores and fuel tanks detonated. "Direct hit," Lieutenant Zhao reported. "Enemy cruiser is breaking apart." "Good. Find the next target." All around them, the battle was turning into chaos. The Kravik had expected an easy fight. They had expected the humans to use standard council tactics, predictable and cautious. Instead, the humans were fighting like nothing the Kravik had ever seen. Human ships did not retreat when damaged. They pressed forward, using their dying momentum to get closer to enemy vessels. Human ships did not avoid risks. They took calculated chances, using the debris field from destroyed vessels as cover. Human ships did not follow any known tactical doctrine. They adapted on the fly, each captain making independent decisions based on what they saw. And most terrifying of all, human ships were willing to sacrifice themselves. The Kravik watched in horror as a damaged human frigate, its engines failing and its shields down, turned directly toward a Kravik battleship and accelerated. The two ships collided and both exploded in a ball of superheated plasma. "They are insane," Zalt screamed. "No species fights like this. No one throws away their lives for strangers." But the humans did, because that was what they had learned on their death world. That survival meant working together, that the pack protected the weak, that you did not abandon your people no matter the cost. Admiral Chen watched the battle unfold from her command ship. She felt each loss like a knife to the heart. The Indomitable's sacrifice, the destroyer relentless, crippled by enemy fire, the frigate steadfast, burning in space. But she did not look away. She owed it to them to watch, to remember. "Ma'am, the Kravik fleet is breaking formation," her tactical officer reported. "They are attempting to retreat." "Do not let them escape," Chen ordered. "If we let them go, they will just attack someone else." "End this now." The human fleet surged forward. They had lost 14 ships, but they had destroyed or disabled 32 Kravik vessels. The remaining 11 were trying to flee, but human ships were faster. One by one, they were hunted down and destroyed. Commander Zalth watched his fleet die around him. He could not understand what had happened. His ships were bigger. His weapons were more advanced. But the humans had fought with a ferocity and skill that defied all logic. They had fought like creatures who had spent their entire evolutionary history learning to kill or be killed. His tactical officer looked at him with wide, terrified eyes. "Commander, we have lost. We must surrender. Never." The Dominion does not surrender to inferior species. But even as he said it, another human projectile slammed into the Crusher of Worlds. The bridge shook violently. Consoles exploded. Crew members were thrown to the floor. And then the lights went out. In the darkness, Zalth heard the sound of his ship dying around him. He heard the screams of his crew. And he finally understood the truth. They had not lost to an inferior species. They had lost to predators. To creatures who had climbed to the top of the food chain on a world that tried every day to kill them. They had lost to Deathworlders. The last Kravik ship surrendered 40 minutes later. The battle was over. The human fleet had won, but at a terrible price. 14 ships destroyed. Over 2,000 crew members dead. But the Velen colony was safe. Admiral Chen opened a channel to the planet below. "Velen colony, this is Admiral Chen. The Kravik fleet has been neutralized. We are sending down medical teams and supplies. You are safe now." On the planet, Sierra stood in the ruins of her city and looked up at the sky. She could see the human ships in orbit silhouetted against the stars. And for the first time in days, she allowed herself to hope. The dropships descended through the Velen atmosphere like falling stars. Inside one of them, Sergeant Maria Santos gripped her rifle and watched the faces of her squad. They were all veterans, all trained for combat. But this was different. This was not about fighting. This was about helping people who had lost everything. "Remember," she said over the squad channel, "these people have been through hell. They are going to be scared. Move slowly. Keep your weapons pointed down. Let them see that we are here to help, not hurt. The dropship touched down in the center of what had once been a city square. Now it was just rubble and ash. As the ramp lowered, Maria stepped out first, her boots crunching on broken stone. The air smelled of smoke and death. Around the edges of the square she saw movement. Figures emerging from the ruins. The Velans were smaller than humans, barely coming up to Maria's shoulder. They had pale blue skin and large eyes that dominated their faces. Their bodies were thin, almost fragile-looking, and every single one of them looked terrified. Maria raised her hands, showing them she was not holding a weapon. "We are here to help," she called out in Galactic Common. "We have food, water, and medical supplies. Please let us help you." For a long moment no one moved. Then one of the Velans stepped forward. It was a female wearing torn clothing covered in dust. She had a child clutched to her chest. A tiny thing with huge eyes that stared at Maria in fear. "You came," the Velan woman whispered. "You actually came." Maria felt her throat tighten. "Yes, we came." "What is your name?" "Sira, I sent the message. I did not think anyone would answer." "Well, we did, and we are not leaving until you are safe." Behind Maria, the rest of her squad was unloading supply crates. Other dropships were landing across the city, bringing more Marines and supplies. And overhead, human ships maintained a protective orbit, making sure no one else would hurt these people. Sira took a hesitant step forward. Then another. Then she was standing right in front of Maria, looking up at her with those huge, liquid eyes. "Why did you come?" "You do not know us. We are nothing to you." Maria knelt down so she was at eye level with the smaller woman. "You asked for help. That is enough. On Earth we have a saying. We do not leave people behind, ever." Sira began to cry. The sound was soft and broken. The sound of someone who had been holding in too much pain for too long. Maria did what came naturally. She wrapped her arms around the alien woman and held her while she sobbed. Other Velans began to emerge from hiding. They were cautious at first, but when they saw that the humans were offering food and medical care, they came in larger numbers. Human medics set up field hospitals. Engineers began clearing rubble and restoring power. Marines stood guard, making sure everyone felt safe. It took several hours, but slowly the Velans began to relax. They began to talk to the humans, to ask questions. And they began to understand that these strange, frightening creatures from the Deathworld had traveled across the galaxy just to save them. But while the Velans were being cared for, news of the battle was spreading across the galaxy at the speed of light. The Galactic Council was in emergency session. Ambassador Threll stood before the assembled counselors and delivered his report. "The Kravik fleet has been destroyed," he said. "Out of 43 warships, only one survived. The Kravik Dominion has suffered its worst military defeat in 200 years, and it was delivered by a species we did not even know had space travel." The council chamber was silent. Every counselor was processing the same impossible information. A Deathworld species had not only developed space travel, they had built a military force capable of defeating one of the galaxy's most powerful empires. High Counselor Venn finally spoke. "How many human ships did we lose?" 14 destroyed, 11 heavily damaged. "But here is what you need to understand, High Counselor. The humans did not care about the losses. They did not retreat when damaged. They did not negotiate. They came to protect the Velans, and they succeeded. And now they are down on the planet providing aid to the survivors." "This is unacceptable," Counselor Reth said. "They cannot simply intervene in council space whenever they please. There must be consequences." Threll looked at her calmly. "What consequences do you suggest, Counselor? Should we send ships to confront them? The Kravik sent 43 warships and they were annihilated. Should we demand they leave? They will refuse, just as they refused before. The humans have made it clear that they do not recognize our authority." "Then what do you suggest?" Venn asked. "I suggest we recognize reality," Threll said. "The humans are here. They are powerful, and unlike the Kravik, they are not interested in conquest. They came to protect innocent lives. Perhaps instead of treating them as a threat, we should consider them as potential allies." The debate raged for hours. Some counselors wanted to isolate the humans, to declare them a rogue element. Others saw opportunity. If the humans could defeat the Kravik, what else could they do? How many other threats could they neutralize? While the council argued, Admiral Chen was having her own conversation with Earth Command. The holographic image of Admiral David Foster, Chief of Naval Operations, appeared in her ready room. His expression was hard to read. "Admiral Chen," he said, "you have created quite a situation." "Yes, sir. I am aware. You disobeyed direct orders. You took the entire Proxima fleet into a combat situation without authorization. You engaged in battle with a foreign power. And in the process, you revealed our existence to the entire galaxy." Chen stood at attention. "Yes, sir. I accept full responsibility for my actions." Foster was quiet for a moment. Then, surprisingly, he smiled. "Catherine, half of Earth's government wants to give you a medal. The other half wants to court-martial you. But here is what matters. You saved lives. You showed the galaxy that humanity stands for something, and you did it knowing you might face consequences. Sir, Earth Command has reviewed the situation. We are backing your decision. Officially, your actions are being classified as a humanitarian intervention under the Genocide Prevention Protocols. You are authorized to remain in Velen space until the situation is stabilized." Chen felt relief wash over her. "Thank you, sir. Do not thank me yet. The Kravik Dominion is not going to take this defeat quietly. Intelligence suggests they are mobilizing additional fleets, and the Galactic Council is demanding we meet with them to discuss our presence in their space. How do you want me to proceed?" Foster's expression turned serious. "The Velens asked for our protection. We are going to give it to them. Officially, we are establishing the Terran Protection Initiative. Any species that faces extinction or genocide can request Earth's protection. If they do, we will respond." Chen felt her heart race. This was bigger than she had imagined. "Sir, that's going to change everything." "I know. But it is the right thing to do. We hid for 60 years because we were afraid of what the galaxy would think of us. But maybe it is time they learned that Deathworlders are not just dangerous. We are also loyal. We protect those who cannot protect themselves." "Understood, sir. We will make them understand." On the planet below, Sierra stood on a makeshift platform in the center of the refugee camp. Around her, thousands of Velens had gathered. Above them, human ships still maintained their protective orbit. Sierra had been asked to speak, to tell her people what would happen next. She looked out at the crowd at faces marked by fear and loss. Then she looked at the humans standing nearby, these strange creatures who had come so far to help them. "My people," Sierra began, her voice amplified by human technology. "3 days ago we thought we would die. We thought the galaxy had abandoned us. But then something impossible happened. We received an answer to our call. Not from the Council, but from a species we did not know existed. From humans, from Deathworlders." A murmur ran through the crowd. The word Deathworld carried weight in the galaxy. It meant danger. It meant death. "Yes," Sierra continued. "They come from a world that would kill most of us in minutes. But they are not monsters. They are protectors. They traveled across the stars to save us. They fought and died for us, and now they stand guard, making sure no one ever hurts us again." She turned to look at Admiral Chen, who stood nearby. "They have offered us protection, not just for today, but for as long as we need it. I believe them. I trust them. And I think we should accept." The vote was unanimous. The Velens accepted Earth's protection, and word spread quickly across the galaxy. Within hours, other species were sending messages to human space. Small species, weak species, species that had been bullied and threatened and had no one to turn to. They all asked the same question: could the Deathworlders protect them too? Emperor Kravik VII sat upon his throne of bone and stared at the tactical display in fury. His greatest fleet destroyed, his most experienced commander dead, his empire's reputation shattered, all because of a species no one had ever heard of before. "Humans," he growled, tasting the word. It left a bitter flavor in his mouth. "Tell me everything about them." His intelligence minister, a scarred veteran named Throck, stepped forward. "My emperor, we have gathered what information we can. The humans come from a planet called Earth in the Outer Rim. It is classified as a Class 12 hazardous world. Their species evolved under conditions that would kill most sentient life. I do not care about their planet," the emperor snarled. "I care about their weaknesses. How do we hurt them?" Throck hesitated. "My emperor, our analysts suggest that direct military confrontation may not be wise. The humans have proven themselves to be formidable opponents. Perhaps negotiation? Negotiation?" The emperor rose from his throne, his massive form towering over his minister. "The Kravik Dominion does not negotiate with inferior species. We conquer. We dominate. And these humans will learn their place. Yes, my Emperor, Throck said quickly, bowing his head. Send assassins to Earth itself, the Emperor ordered. Kill their leaders. Destroy their centers of government. Show them that no one defies the Dominion and lives. If we cannot defeat their military, we will break their spirit. Throck bowed again and left to carry out the orders. Within days, a team of Kravik's finest assassins was assembled. They were trained in stealth and weapons in the art of killing. They had overthrown governments and assassinated kings. They had never failed a mission. They boarded a stealth ship and set course for Earth. It would take them 3 weeks to reach human space. 3 weeks to plan their attack. 3 weeks until the humans learned the price of defying the Kravik Empire. On Earth, in the city of Geneva where the United Earth government was headquartered, President Sarah Chen addressed a packed assembly hall. She was no relation to Admiral Catherine Chen, but she shared the Admiral's determination and strength. My fellow humans, she began. 3 weeks ago, our fleet answered a distress call. They saved the Velen people from genocide, and in doing so, they revealed our presence to the entire galaxy. Many of you have asked me what this means for humanity's future. Today, I will tell you. She gestured to the holographic display behind her, which showed a map of known space. We have received over 300 requests for protection from species across the galaxy. Small species, peaceful species, species that have been bullied and exploited for centuries. They are asking us to help them because no one else will. A murmur ran through the assembly. President Chen raised her hand for silence. I know what some of you are thinking. This is not our fight. We should focus on our own people, our own worlds. And you are right to be cautious. But I want you to consider something. For 60 years we hid because we were afraid. Afraid of how the galaxy would see us. Afraid of being attacked because we are different. She paused, letting her words sink in. But we do not have to be afraid anymore. We have proven ourselves. We have shown that humans are not just survivors, but protectors. And now the weak and helpless are looking to us for hope. Are we going to turn our backs on them? Or are we going to show the galaxy what humanity really stands for? The assembly erupted in applause. The vote was overwhelming. The Terran Protection Initiative was officially established. Earth would protect those who could not protect themselves. But while humanity celebrated, the Kravik assassins arrived in Earth's solar system. There were 6 of them, experts in infiltration and killing. They piloted their stealth ship past the outer defenses and approached Earth itself. This is too easy, the team leader, a warrior named Zek, muttered. Where are their defenses? Perhaps they are overconfident, another assassin suggested. They think their victory over our fleet makes them invincible. The ship entered Earth's atmosphere, using advanced cloaking technology to avoid detection. They landed in a forest outside Geneva and made their way toward the city on foot. That was when they realized their first mistake. Earth's gravity was crushing. Each step felt like they were carrying twice their body weight. Within an hour, they were exhausted. Within 2 hours, one of them collapsed from heat stroke. The atmosphere, rich with oxygen, made them dizzy and disoriented, and the forest itself seemed hostile. Insects bit them. Plants made them itch. Strange animals watched them from the trees. How did the humans live on this nightmare world? Zek gasped, struggling forward. They never reached Geneva. Earth's security forces, equipped with sensors that could detect any anomalies, had spotted the stealth ship the moment it entered the solar system. They had tracked it to the landing site, and they had been waiting. When the assassins finally staggered out of the forest, human soldiers were there to meet them. The soldiers wore light armor and carried simple weapons. They looked relaxed, almost bored, because to them, Earth was home. The gravity was normal. The atmosphere was normal. The terrain was familiar. The Kravik assassins tried to fight. They lasted less than 30 seconds. Human soldiers moved with a speed and precision that came from training on a high-gravity world. They disarmed the aliens easily and took them into custody. Zek found himself in a cell, staring through transparent barriers at a human interrogator. The human was a woman with gray hair and kind eyes. She sat across from him with a cup of tea. I am Colonel Andrews, she said pleasantly. I am here to ask you some questions about why you tried to infiltrate Earth. But first, I want to make sure you understand something. What? Zek spat. You never had a chance. From the moment your ship entered our system, we knew you were here. We tracked you. We watched you struggle through our forests, and we could have stopped you at any time. But we wanted you to see what Earth is really like. Zek said nothing, but his silence spoke volumes. You come from a world with half Earth's gravity, Andrews continued. Your atmosphere is thin and dry. Your largest predator is smaller than a human child, and yet you thought you could infiltrate our world and kill our leaders. That was foolish. The Emperor will send more, Zek said defiantly. He will send fleets. He will burn your world to ash. Andrews sipped her tea. Let him try. But before he does, I want you to deliver a message for me. Tell your Emperor that Earth is not afraid of him. Tell him that if he attacks us again, we will respond. Not with threats, not with negotiations, with overwhelming force. And unlike him, we will not stop at military targets. We will remove his empire as a threat, permanently. The assassins were released 3 days later. They returned to Kravik space with Colonel Andrews' message. When Emperor Kravik heard it, he flew into a rage. He ordered his entire military to mobilize. Every warship, every soldier, every weapon the Dominion possessed. He would crush these humans once and for all. The Kravik Armada was the largest military force assembled in 50 years. Over 200 warships carrying tens of thousands of soldiers. They jumped into human space expecting to find scattered colonies and weak defenses. Instead, they found something that made the Emperor's blood run cold. Hundreds of human ships emerged from the inner solar system. Not just military vessels, but civilian ships retrofitted with weapons. Not just the Proxima fleet, but ships from every human colony, rushing home to defend their world. And in the center of the formation, massive defense stations that bristled with weapons. Admiral Catherine Chen's voice came through on all channels, broadcast so that every ship in the Kravik Armada could hear. Emperor Kravik, she said, you have made 2 mistakes. First, you tried to murder civilians. We do not forgive that. Second, you came to Earth itself. This is our home, and we will die before we let you take it from us. The Emperor tried to respond, tried to threaten and bluster, but Chen cut him off. You wanted to see what Deathworlders can really do. Now you will learn. All ships engage. The battle that followed became known as the Defense of Sol. It was the largest space battle in galactic history. The Kravik had superior numbers and technology, but the humans had something more important. They were fighting for their home. Human ships threw themselves at the Kravik fleet with reckless abandon. They used tactics that made no sense to the Kravik commanders. They sacrificed themselves to protect damaged vessels. They coordinated with a precision that came from speaking the same language, sharing the same culture, fighting for the same cause, and most importantly, they refused to lose. Every time a human ship was destroyed, 2 more took its place. Every time the Kravik pushed forward, the humans pushed back harder. It was not elegant. It was not clean. It was brutal, bloody, desperate fighting. But slowly, inevitably, the tide turned. The Kravik fleet began to break. Ships tried to retreat but found themselves surrounded. The Emperor himself aboard his flagship watched his armada die around him. And then a human battle cruiser, the Indomitable II, named after the ship lost at Velen, rammed his flagship at full speed. The explosion could be seen from Earth's surface, and with it, the Kravik Dominion's power died. The remaining Kravik ships surrendered within the hour. The war was over. Humanity had won, but the cost was terrible. 50 human ships destroyed, thousands dead, and Earth itself had come within hours of being invaded.